Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги, гости. Мы приветствуем вас на Московском лингвистическом форуме. И мы начинаем открытый брифинг государственной охраны объектов культурного наследия, памятников истории и культуры в Москве. Спикером у нас сегодня выступает исполняющий обязанности руководитель Департамента культурного наследия города Москвы Сергей Mirzoyan. Эксперт у нас заместитель руководителя Президиума Всероссийского общества охраны памятников истории и культуры Артем Демидов. Итак, слово предоставляется Сергею Mirzoяну, и мы начинаем.
Добрый день, дорогие друзья! Сегодня мы с вами поговорим об объектах культурного наследия, но поскольку мы с вами на урбанистическом форуме находимся, то акцент, наверное, сделаем о том, каким образом объекты культурного наследия и связанные с ним институции влияют на градостроительную ситуацию. Поскольку объекты культурного наследия – это, с одной стороны, всегда архитектурная доминанта определенной территории, а с другой стороны, это всегда ограничения. Ограничения в градостроительной деятельности, и об этом мы, наверное, сегодня поговорим. Ну, сначала в целом в цифрах о том, какое количество объектов у нас в городе Москве. Вот на слайде вы видите, что в среднем всего в городе Москве насчитывается порядка.
So there are about 7.5 heritage sites, and their distribution in equal parts places some technical problems in terms of identifying the quantities. We have federal importance sites and regional sites. From the point of view of the legal protection, practically there is no difference in the toolkits. The legislation provides for protection of different kinds of objects, of sites. As for the types of cultural heritage sites, they are shown on the right pie chart, and you may see that the main part of it are buildings. Buildings with facilities, they take more than 4,700. Also, we have lots of necropolis and archaeological objects. And we have also monumental art sites. Very many people want to speak to the microphone. So let us wait while colleagues would finish. The question is whether they're going to talk long or not. Maybe I will speak a little bit louder. Naturally, due to historical reasons, the cultural heritage sites are unequally distributed across the territory of the city. Almost 80% of them are located on the territory of the central administrative district of Moscow city, and speaking more precisely, within the border boundaries of Kamer College Val. This is a simplified structure which gives us a main idea of the model of a cultural heritage site and how should it be protected in the historical environment. A cultural heritage site is located in the center. Each site should have a territory, a monument territory. This is the second area, which is located close to the site. This is the territory which implies the highest limitations, the biggest number of limitations in terms of the development. It's prohibited to carry out any new construction. It is allowed to lead some economic activity which does not harm the cultural heritage site and provides its normal functioning. Next area which the site has is so-called protection area. According to the Russian legislation, we have three types of protection areas. This is the protected area, the most protected area with the most severe limitations. No construction is allowed except for restoration works, and only within the regeneration and restoration. This is the general rule for all protected area. Then the natural landscape protection area, and it's obvious from the name that this is the environment protection, and the economic area, which provides an opportunity of limited construction within the allowed parameters and limits. Recently, a federal law was adopted which was not enforced yet. It is being enacted since December this year. It implements the new type, the so-called security area, which is shown with dotted line here. This area exists until the definition of the protection zone. We should also underline that legislation determines all areas for cultural heritage sites, but different sites can be located in the areas of different cultural sites, and this situation is not always in Moscow city. Moreover, in other constituent entities of Russian Federation, these areas, protection areas, needs to be financially supported. And so if there are no protection areas, automatically a security area should be imposed until the definition of the protection area. And law provides it depending where the site is located, whether it's within a housing within the residential area or beyond the residential area, then the borders are determined accordingly. As for protection areas and particularly security areas, on the territory of the city we have 509 combined protection areas with a total area of more than 40,000 hectares, which is almost 40% of the whole territory of Moscow except the attached territories. Proceeding from the location of sites in the center, the protection area are concentrated predominantly in the central part of the city. The specific features of the protection area modes are the requirements to set up the modes of land use and construction regulations within the protection areas. And this work is made by the department on a planned basis since 2011, because before that time the practice was focused on the development of area with the support of investors and on the account of the investors who plan to develop a certain area. On this slide, we provide an excerpt from the regulatory documents of the department in the area of the land use regulations within the borders of territories of Moscow. A part of the modes which are developed and approved by the Development Commission of Moscow, they are applicable and they are enforced by the authorities while evaluation of development opportunities and construction opportunities. What is the essence of these limitations and how can they influence the development of different plot of land? It is very well known area in Kadashi district. For many years it has been a problematic area and it is being heatedly discussed in public. Currently in our department we have we received dozens of applications and claims from citizens concerning the potential development of different plots, which are marked red. Here you see these red borders. Previously there were some buildings located, plant buildings, which has been demolished, and now investors and the owner of this plot plans some construction development of this territory. Based on this example, I'd like to illustrate how the modes and regulations can limit and should limit the opportunities of the city development. Such dominance, this church in Kadashi, we should avoid the situation when it could be lost amid the modern buildings and modern development. This is the map of this is the design of investors, their wishes, how they wish to develop the territory. You can see the buildings which are up to 6 stories height in the total area of 36,000 square meters. They even plan to build it on the territory of the federal cultural heritage sites. And basically on the next slide we illustrated how within the approved modes and the regulations this land should be developed or could be developed. This should be the mode of regeneration of the historical environment, which implies, as you can see, the 3 times reduction of the construction volumes and significant reduction of the height of buildings up to the limit which has been present at this territory historically. Just a few words about detection of cultural heritage sites, because after its detection it immediately can influence the city development situation. The procedure of this detection was simplified recently. Every interested person can file an application for detection of the cultural heritage sites. For instance, we have here colleagues who are actively involved in this process of detection of cultural heritage sites. Then, according to the legislative procedure, the Department of the Cultural Heritage, according to the approved acts of the government and the department, determines the cultural value and historical value of so-called sites, claimed sites, and makes decision based on this analysis, either on including these sites in the list of cultural heritage sites or on refusal. This decision should be made within 90 days, and after this decision, after the positive decision, practically all requirements and limitations become applicable on the territory of these cultural heritage sites, with some exceptions. Or, for instance, the security area is not set, but these sites should be included within 1 year in the register of cultural heritage sites, and as a rule, because almost all sites are detected in the central administrative district of Moscow, so as a rule they are automatically included in the existing protection area. And if it's not the case, a special security area should be developed for them. For instance, here a few examples of sites which were included in this list on these applications in the end of 2015. Statistics is changing. Just recently I signed a few documents, legislative documents, either on refusal or approval on inclusion in the register, so the statistics could change. But you can see, for instance, the recent object, the recent site was detected in northern Butovo district, and we don't have any protection area there, and we don't even have any other cultural heritage sites around it. So you may see that also new city territories can have interesting cultural sites which have some historical value and can be included in the register. Also a few sites which, so unfortunately the presentation is larger than the screen, or if you can see it in full. So these are the objects which has been included in the register, and I forgot to say that the legislation provides also authorities for the department to include it. Previously, it was only the Moscow government was authorized. Now the Department of Cultural Heritage can include new sites in the object. These are just a few sites which has been included in the register recently. And also a few words about restoration program of the city. I will finish my presentation by soon. On this page you can see the figures, the absolute figures which we have as of 2015, and also planned figures for 2016. And I must tell you that for the current moment we work on 237 sites, potential cultural heritage sites, and also restoration works are planned for them, and research works are also on the way. And 57 of cultural heritage sites this year were accepted based on the acceptance certificate, and works are finished there, and we expect that around 350 sites this year will be under restoration, and at least 100 and even more than 100 sites will be accepted and completely signed in after the finishing of restoration. These are a few examples of finished restoration works at sites. Many of them you know very well. Also, city does a lot in terms of restoration and repair of monuments and monument art and tombstones. Just a few examples. As in particular, you know that the Pushkin monument is on reconstruction and restoration, and a lot was done for the 70th anniversary of Great Patriotic War. At this slide, we show you a few sites where restoration works were finished. As you may see, just unique case of the house of Schechtel architect. On the bottom, just recently accepted cultural site, the manor of Staronikolskaya Manor on the attached territory, on a new territory. Quite interesting that with tight schedule, this site was restored on the funds of the Chinese party, and on Monday we will have the official ceremony of opening the Chinese Museum of the sixth Congress of the party. That's what I wanted to tell you for the beginning of our talk. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Sergei Mikhailovich told us very interesting things about the areas. From the first glance, it's easy, but please imagine how much work is behind that to detect the cultural heritage sites, and how much work should be done and how much work is to organize it all. Now I'd like to give the floor to the experts of the Presidium of the protection areas, Mr. Demidov.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I would try to focus on key issues of the statement of Sergei. First of all, I would like to say that APIC, this is an independent organization. We are not funded by the state. We are very independent. And so the first and very pressing issue, this is the making of the register of cultural heritage sites. I think all of you know European experience. You know that in Holland, for example, in the register there are over 100 sites. But do they have documents? Sometimes. So I think it's of course, for sure that these all sites are registered. The same is the same concerns Italy. But in Russia, regarding regarding Moscow region, we have 70% of documents for such sites, but in Moscow region only 17%. Why is it so important to have all restrictions for these sites, and why should all this be included in the register? But when we have uncertainty, we have problems. Regarding the protected zones, these are our positive influence, the positive influence of society, because we have, for example, now the memorials which are well protected, but sometimes we all know how the government acts. If tomorrow in the regions they will say that we have protected 100-meter zone and you should not spend money for protection of the zone, it's not right, because we cannot here have one standard for all memorials, for all zones, but we as the community of memorial protection, we would like to continue to work here. Now, regarding detection of such sites of cultural heritage, first of all, this order, which was implemented by the law, and of course it's good that any citizen, any organization can apply to our body, to the body, if, for example, they detect some sites of cultural heritage. But now, considering that the body of this site protection can also, refuse from this knowledge, and so in this case the government only has two versions of development of events. We can include these sites into the register, or we can order some other expertise, and in this case we will not include this in the register. All this information will be published, and we know that experts are individuals and they will risk their status, their reputation. And also, moreover, here the government will save on some money, because if it agrees with the opinion of experts, it agrees. And also, it's clear that today we can write 3 phrases, and then the next day we say that we announced something, but this site was not accepted. But the government here can say, please, you can also order some experts. Secondly, our proposal in this about this register regarding protection of sites. This is publication of sites in accordance with which we develop the projects of restoration. Sometimes we have some information and it's not clear what works we do from there. We have modern technologies, internet, and we need to have regulations about mandatory publications of sites, of such sites. And now regarding restoration. This issue is not so simple. We all know the latest events which are happening in the Ministry of Culture. There are a lot of details and tools which we have to improve. We, as the community of site protection, We have also a lot of issues under discussion. And it seems to me that we'll solve all those issues. There are two principles which are important for restoration. First of all, we need to, really to protect memorials and not to spend money only. And secondly, we have to use also science in restoration. Now, restoration is not science. We understand that we have periods, that we have budget and so on, but as a result, all scientific process is lost here. Also, recently we accepted one proposal, and the Minister of Culture supported it. So, technical task or planned restoration task should entail also regulations of acceptability concept. For example, now we have 10 tasks, different tasks. For example, for the draft, or then we should have only one technical task, even if there is a tender for it. So then this should be approved at the committee, and then we have some starting point. This project will be like this, and this is the project of acceptability. And the Ministry of Culture can do this only for the sites of cultural heritage, which is under its control, and the regions can accept their regulations concerning tasks. And then also the issue of cooperation of the bodies of site protection and social organization. First of all, the law about public control. I always say that we need to know this law very well. And this is a new law, of course, but still we need to implement it very well in life. Some representatives of our community have different opinions, that we should not participate in these committees. But I'm sure that we should have this public committee, and also our president things like this. Also, the law about public control legalizes such notions as public expertise, public inspection, and so on. And I think we should work at this. And the last one, this is a list of President's instructions from December, and there is an innovation in this area, whether some powers can be transferred to public organizations. And the President also instructed the Ministry of Culture to study this proposal, the proposal about certification of experts, restorators. We should support this proposal, and we should have some appropriate professional communities. This is a good direction, but maybe these communities are not mature. We are a public organization, and we will continue our control and monitoring of experts' activities. We have different experts, and also will participate in certification committees. So this result of monitoring will be known to people who make decisions. Also, there are some other powers. For example, observing of the modern state of the sites. Here we can have a feedback. It's clear that public organization has also the same goal, to protect the sites, but then maybe they do this differently. As a conclusion, I would like to say that our main task is to protect the sites of cultural heritage, and we should work here very well. It's also the task for public organizations to protect the sites. I think these questions are very interesting because now we have the trend for giving governmental functions to public organizations because we have a lot of expertise, and this concerns many issues. We have possibilities to look at all this in another way. Now let's speak about this. Sergey, how do you think? What other? So how else can we attract public organizations? Do you agree with what Sergey mentioned? Thank you very much for your question. Yes, of course, we should attract public organizations, and it's impossible. That's really needed. I mentioned the figure 7.5 thousand sites of cultural heritage. And we cannot have, a policeman around all these sites, and it's very difficult to monitor the state of these sites and how the work is being done at this site. So that's why without public organizations, it's impossible to work. In Moscow, we created a hotline which has to inform us about what's going on here in this area. Also, we have another ways. For example, public committees. They should be created in accordance with the requirements about the law of public control, and that is why we conduct this work now. Public committee, which will not be so the employees of our department, which will not be included in this committee, and this organization will give advice to the department, and it will express its opinion. It will have all appropriate functions. And now regarding photo fixation and observation, here there are a lot of things which we can work at, but then so this should be also documented. We need to have documents, and these documents should be also worked at quite seriously, and we should discuss it. I think, I'm sure we have to go in this direction. Thank you very much. And also, Artyom, I have the question to you about attraction of scientific, of some academics for restoration. If we don't have scientists, how can it be? Now, regarding academics, yes, I support this trend. I can say that the law says that the most important works on restoration should be conducted by those experts which have experience, and we have this regulation in the law. It's quite general, and we don't have the mechanism of its realization. If we see, for example, that this experts should be certified by the Ministry of Culture, but if there are some other people who do this, how can I understand that this person is certified? Sometimes certificates are not given. If there are certificates, there are no pictures in these certificates. So that's why there are a lot of problems here. We have discussed this at the seminar, which was conducted just recently, and I also voiced this problem. I said that we just not only to say something, but we should also realize a full, proposal, starting from the documents, including also the regulations, which could allow us to conceal this service. If, for example, this expert is not certified, we should have some mechanism, but we don't have it now. They are not developed. This is a new norm, a new regulation. That's why we should have do some work here. And the department of the Ministry of Culture send very specific proposals to us. Also, I want to mention that for providing good experts for restoration works, we need also that we should have some education in this area. Because now we don't have a lot of well-educated people here, because in 90s we did not have restoration at all, and only in 2000, in this area there were experts who so-called experts, but they were not really experts, so they had a little knowledge about all this restoration works, and this market was very monopolized. I am sure that education is a key issue here. We understand all these procedures. We also make some events. We all know all colleges, institutes which prepare such experts. Maybe sometimes we should have architects, restorators, and also some other experts. And maybe in Russia we have some restoration schools, like Moscow is well known for such directions in this, or some other regions are well known by good restorators, by its school. And in Soviet times, all regions were well known by restoration schools, and we had a very good school in St. Petersburg, in Novgorod, Great Novgorod, in Pskov, and also Volga region, Tatarstan, for example. And by the way, also, our organization this year is already 50 years old. It was created at that time, and so this organization coordinated a lot of events and a lot of projects at that time. So now let's listen to the people from the audience. I have the mic. Please raise your hand, and let's start with you. So first, you introduce yourself. My name is so-so, the organization, and then your question. Hello, my name is Polina. I am a volunteer at this forum. In Salenka Street, we have the house of Rastarguev, and it's now a shabby place because this is the house of cultural heritage. Will it be saved? Will it be saved? What do you mean? Now, this house is in a horrible state. Okay. How can you save it, and when will you save it? Because in this case, Moscow will lose this house. Yes, we hear this question not for the first time, and it's so we have concern about this house. Maybe you know that the owner of this site did not make any work, and then this site just had a new owner in the February of this year. This is the state corporation Rostech. It got the site, and our department also had a lot of meetings, and we had a lot of meetings with this state corporation. We should take a lot of measures. First of all, some other bystanders or some other people should not pass by these premises. And we should close it with some kind of fence. We should protect this house. Also, we discussed the periods of restoration works. This year, we want to do some works, and then these works will help to save this site. I think that the facades are very bad, especially some elements which are well seen, but some other parts like cellars, for example, they are not so damaged, and the interior also is not in a good state, so we should also restore this. But this year we have the task to make some works, and all legal possibility which we have, to make this works, we'll apply it, and then also we'll ask the government for making this.
Елена Shuvalova, deputy of the Moscow State Duma. We sit in the very center of Moscow, Zamoskvorechye, Yakimanka, those districts where we have the majority of these sites we are discussing today. My first question is a little bit about different topic. We have a very serious situation in Sheremetyevo-Kuskovo site. This is the cultural heritage site, and there is a very severe resistance from very severe conflict with the residents, and I'm just concerned that about people. People throw themselves under saws. I saw all these conflicts. They fell trees, very old trees there, and people try to resist it. And was Moscow Nasledye approving these activities on the territory of Sheremetyevo site? As for Kuskovo, the trees felling works, you may know that these works are carried out not on the territory of the cultural heritage sites and not on the protection area territory, both before correction and after correction of borders. What is removed now, it was for the park and not for the territory of Sheremetyevo house. So the documents on that and the topic related to felling of trees there, this is not the question to our department, at least in part. It is happening. As for the documents, we requested from the developer, from the designer, the design of works for this territory, because it is closely adjacent to the cultural heritage site, and you know that this norm was introduced quite recently, and the documents for this construction site was developed for quite a long time ago. So in these cases, for such developers who do some works close to the construction heritage sites, cultural heritage sites, we ask the new documentation there, and we try to solve this problem. That was me. And the second question, and what next if the documents is absent or not given? What should it be then? What should result in administrative punishment? The law says nothing about it. Okay, so it means that Moscow Nasledye has no documents for the current moment and didn't give. The felling works are made outside of the protection area. So you didn't give. Okay, well, if you say it's beyond your scope, then no positive documents were given. You requested information. I just sent the request yesterday, so I didn't get any documents. I wasn't going to delve into it. It's a very difficult situation with plots, and in the instruction of the government of Moscow, it is not given. The second question, why the detected cultural heritage sites are not included in the register for several years? You need just to sign the documents, and that's all. For example, the trolleybus park let's remove this question. I'm sorry, because the details were not given by the speaker. Maybe you can contact the speaker through the. I can answer. Of course, we have around 2,000 detected cultural heritage sites, and there are not historical expert examination document, expert opinions for all of them. If you know, the expert opinions are now limited by 3 years of validity, so all the opinions couldn't be applied and new ones should be ordered, should be requested. And what does it mean? 2,000 sites. It's not possible to include them all at once in the register, and to include them in the register we need to have the site of the protection and the actual borders of the territory, and it should be a subject of the expert examination, because all these issues will be taken into account by experts while inclusion in the register. The work is going on. We have planned indicators for each year that we approve for ourselves, and unfortunately this work can't be done in such a short notice. And which is important from the point of view of the legal protection. The determined cultural heritage site is being protected until the decision will be made in a positive or negative way in terms of inclusion. So with a small exception, all the requirements are observed here, and maybe that's not the biggest problem in our case. Thank you. It's a very important question, Sergei. Those sites which are approved ones, will you accept the expert examination, or should you order it according to the new law? It is not written in the law. We organize the expert opinion, we do organize it, but it's not necessary that the expert opinion, expert examination should be ordered by the Department of Monuments Protection. So every interested person can order this expert examination, but the result of this expert examination could either be inclusion in the register or refusal to include it in the register. So for us, we order it by ourselves, but we should consider this expert opinion in according to the fixed procedure. The expertise is needed to make a grounded decision by authorities, and if we receive the expert opinion on objects, of course we will take it into consideration. Because the detected sites, I agree, it should be protected by the government, but this is the object for undetermined status. Shall it be restored or not by the owner? Maybe in 1 year it ceases to be the cultural heritage site. I think they need to be included in the register. I think the community should organize the expertise. I propose to do it with common efforts. Unfortunately, please, I'm sorry. Shall we finish with questions, because we have to wrap up? I'm not going to ask questions. I just wanted to continue. You have only 2 minutes. Artyom, it's a very dangerous procedure. For instance, developers, as a rule, will do expert opinion by developers. Myself as a deputy could do it, but I don't have this money, but they do have it. And for instance, now for Depre building, they will make it, they will reschedule it, and they will own this object. But Moscow Naslедие, and instructions, they not just violated them, they just demolished them, and that's all. Thank you very much. We had a very fruitful discussion, I think. Thank you very much to all the participants. You may continue it on the lobbies, and you can write official letters, official requests on all issues. Unfortunately, we cannot give you the work. We are finished. Thank you very much. You have the next event. Thank you. Bye-bye.